Okay, it is 6:42 on February 21st. This is a regular city council meeting of the Arlington City Council. I'm Mayor Rich Nagel. I'll be presiding at this meeting. And I'll call the meeting to order, and please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here tonight. We'll go with roll call of the council members. Councilmember Cowell.
Here.
Councilmember Highland.
Here.
Councilmember Hattlestead. Councilmember Yashewski.
Here.
Councilmember Batcher.
Here.
Also at the table is on my left, City Administrator Donabauer, on my right, City Attorney Arneson. Joining us tonight in the audience is Jason Femright, representing Bolton and Mink, our engineering firm. Dwight Grabitsky, representing the Arlington Historical Society, and Kurt Mink, representing the Arlington Enterprise. And just entering is Craig Goldbush, representing the Historical Society also, the Arlington Historical Society. Okay, we'll move on to item number 3, approving the agenda. Is there any changes in the agenda? Any additions, deletions? If not, motion is in order to approve as presented.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Batcher, second by Councilmember Cowell to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Moving on to the consent agenda, a very short one this evening. Item 4, consent agenda consists of A, approval of the February 6th regular meeting minutes, B, approval of the February 6th tour workshop meeting minutes, and C, approval of the bills. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Highland, second by Councilmember Batcher to approve the consent agenda as read. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. There are no public hearings this evening. We'll move then. Is there anyone that wishes to address the council at this time? Okay. Seeing none, we will then move on to item 6, announcements.
Please join the Arlington Lions this Friday for their annual fish fry, February 24th. And in addition to that, Mayor Nagel will be there to award the Darwin Mathwig Award at 5 p.m. right here at our community center. And then starting Monday, February 27th, our residents who are enjoying alleyway garbage pickup, they will now be required to move their garbage collection out to the curbside due to the soft ground in our alleyways. And then the local Board of Appeal and Equalization open book meeting will be held Thursday, April 20th from 3 to 8 p.m. at the Sibley County Assessor's Office in Gaylord.
Okay, thank you. And move right on then to communications.
In your packet, you have a copy of the January water and wastewater report submitted by People Services Operator Lee Ortlaw. You also have a copy of the January building permit report submitted by building official Darren Haslett. You have a copy of the January financial reports. Also a copy of the League of Minnesota Cities Insurance Trust Survey and Experience Modification Factor Report for the City of Arlington. This is a report that's delivered on an annual basis, just so the city can see their claim status over a 5 to 10 year period on their workers' comp, as well as their casualty insurance, property and casualty insurance. We also have an invitation to attend the League of Minnesota Cities Legislative Conference for Cities, March 23rd. It's in St. Paul. If anybody's interested in joining me and the city of Winthrop, please let me know. And then the Minnesota Municipal Utilities Association year-end review, that report is also in your packet, as well as the Arlington 2016 Farmers Market Survey results submitted by Sibley County's health educator, Mary Bachman. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions on the communications? Hearing none, we'll move on to reports of officers, boards, and committees. Item number 8, the annual report of the Arlington Historical Society. Mr. Grabitsky and Mr. Goldbush, please use the microphone there. Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening.
Good evening. The city was given our annual report. and-
Could you pull the microphone a little closer, please? There we go. Thank you.
All right. Copy of the annual report was given to the city. I assume everyone had that in their packet. I'm not going to go through the entire report, but I would like to touch on a couple of the items that are inside the report. Page 2 has information about the Arlington Museum, and that has been the focus for the past year, is getting things set up for the museum. We did have an open house at the Arla Dazzle. We are planning to have the museum open beginning in May with regular scheduled hours, the first and third Saturdays of each month from May through November, and then with the last date being the Arla Dazzle celebration. That way we'll have an opportunity for people to come in to the museum to take a look at what we do have. Right now, there are just a few items there. The plans for this year include having the focus on World War I, which is going to be the focus statewide. At all of the museums are going to be having something to do with World War I. 100 years ago was when this country entered into the First World War, so that's what the celebration is about. As a sidelight for that, the Minnesota Historical Society was not planning to do anything for World War I until their representatives went out and talked to museums across the state and found out that the vast majority of them had already begun plans. And so the Minnesota Historical Society shifted gears rather quickly in order so that they also will be, along with the rest of us, in having a display for World War I. Our biggest accomplishment this past year was the remodeling of the bathroom. That was kind of a major setback for us a year ago. We were not planning to do quite an extensive remodel until we found out that we really needed to have a ADA compliant bathroom, even though that the building cannot be made ADA compliant. The reason for that is it is a historic building. The door in the front and the door to the back are fixed in the width, which cannot be made to 3 foot to make it compliant. The other thing that I really wanted to touch on was on page 4, where we had public interaction. On the front page, you have a picture of our mayor, who was there cleaning stones. We were very fortunate. We've got Jared Roll to come. He is an expert on cleaning and repairing and preserving tombstones and various types of markers, anything that has to do with stonework. We had him, and 13 people were able to attend the session. The session itself we thought was very, very successful. Even though we didn't have enough people to cover the cost, we did get a couple of sponsors to take care of the costs. This coming spring, what we would like to do is look at stones in the cemeteries around Arlington. Darnell is going to be helping us at St. Mary's. I've started on looking at the stones at St. Paul's, and we'll have to have some people take a look at stones at the public cemetery. And what we'd like to do is the stones of the World War I or Civil War veterans that are out there that are in need of repair, in need of cleaning, we'd like to get that started. A number of veterans from the VFW have already told me that they would be willing to help us, so whenever the weather is appropriate, that we can do something like that. So those are the plans that are upcoming. This afternoon, we had 2 representatives from the Minnesota Historical Society come down to take a look at our museum. We will be working with them, trying to get a grant to cover the planning and the evaluation process for the lighting for the museum. Right now, the lighting that's in there is a very, very comfortable lighting for office work or it would work well for the police station, but does not work well for museums. They did a number of physical checks with looking at the UV content of the light, and the numbers are very, very high. This is the last thing that you want with anything that is with paper, because it discolors the paper. It's the last thing you want with clothing, again, because it discolors the clothing. You lose the colors. So anyway, we will be working on getting a grant this year, and hopefully by the end of the year we will have all the planning in place that in a year from now we can change all of the lighting in there so that it's more appropriate for museums. The rest of the items that, as you see in there, the last page, a bunch of numbers in there telling you how much money came in, how much money we spent, and what we spend it on. Everything is broken down. I'm not going to dwell on any of that. If you've got any questions, I can answer them, or our treasurer can answer where the money went. So we're open for questions.
I think you mentioned about possibly instituting a membership thing where people, similar to the county historical, or did you not mention it in it? But I do remember being at a meeting where that was brought up for discussion, where people could donate X number of dollars to be a member of the society.
We've talked about it, and I think we're going to be looking at something like that. We have a lady here in the community who is very much interested in being part of the Historical Society, although not on the board. And we would like to use her expertise in that, because she's been involved in other areas, museum or other area historical societies. So we will be looking at something like that. The thing is, if you offer a membership, what does the membership involve? Do you just have your name on that? We are, as I mentioned, we are planning to be open on Saturdays. We only have 7 board members, so we really are going to need some help in that department. We're going to need some people to help us out for those different Saturdays. So if anybody is interested in learning about museums, if you're interested in learning about being a guide in a museum, we can help you with that. We can walk you through what we've got there, and just being a part of it. We'd love to have you.
Almost to the fact that if they were to help, they wouldn't be unemployed.
Okay, any questions, comments in regard to the Historical Society?
Thank you for all that you do. You work hard and do a great job with it.
Well, it's a lot of fun, but one of the things that we really would like to accomplish is that let's preserve the history of this community. Whether you realize it or not, Arlington has a very, very rich history, has a very, very interesting history. Each and every day that I do anything with this, I find out about things that I never thought about. Within the last couple of months, I found out that Arlington had a great artist, and yet I couldn't find anything in the community about him. He spent his first 14 years here in Arlington. In 1930, he left here in 1924, 1925. In 1938, he won the first prize at the Minnesota State Fair with his artwork. The title picture was "A Bend in the Mississippi." So anyway, you're gonna have to wait till later this summer because I don't have enough information on him. But he's gonna show up in the museum, so you're gonna have to come and find out who this person was. And what his background was and what his ties to Arlington were. So you're,
Sounds exciting.
Very nice
Be
job
fun.
in the report. It was very well put together.
Thank you.
Dwight, on the World War I display, where are you finding artifacts or material for the display?
all right, we do have a little bit. We have Dr. T.P. Martin. Maybe Rich would remember. I don't know how many others would remember who he was. But we do have his military uniform from World War I. He was not here in Arlington at that time. He didn't come here until 1930. But he spent 27 years here as a doctor in the community. We also have, there's a lady here in Arlington who has her grandfather's, her great-grandfather's World War I Navy uniform.
So what you're taking is all World War I, not post-World War I?
No, we're
The reason I ask is I've been looking for a place to donate my grandfather's Navy uniform, the pictures of 3 ships, the same ship, the USS Idaho, that was in, I'm almost sure, World War I. And it's got the ship, it's got the crew on the ship, something else, his uniform, is it something you could use? Because if
Probably.
it is, you're more than welcome to it. It's a complete
yeah.
uniform, all the pictures.
Yeah, we have very, very little from World War I. I have a lot of, I have 3 boxes of uniforms from World War II, World War II and Korean War. But very, very little from World War I.
I will call you one day and we'll set this up and I'll bring it over to your house and then you can let me know.
Okay. We'd love to have it.
Okay, anything else, council?
Oh, very good.
All right. Thank you very much for the report. We appreciate the report and the work you do.
Well, thank you for the opportunity and thank you for providing the space. And we think the history is very important and we're very, very glad that the city does recognize that.
Good. Thanks again. Moving on to item 9, we do not have any ordinances tonight. Item 10, resolutions. There's a resolution 16-2017 in regard to donations.
The ambulance department received 3 checks in the amounts of $1,000 from the Olson and Steens family. And the ambulance committee in discussion had decided they'd like to use those funds towards the purchase of a power load system for their backup rig. So before you tonight is the resolution just accepting those donation dollars and designating its use.
I'll make a motion to, or I'll introduce resolution 16-2017, resolution accepting a donation and designating its use.
I'll second.
Motion by, resolution is introduced by Councilmember Batcher and seconded by Councilmember Hattlestead. And that is resolution 16-2017, a resolution accepting a donation and designating its use. Is there any further discussion? If not, vote by roll call vote. Councilmember Highland.
Yes.
Councilmember Cowell.
Yes.
Councilmember Hattlestead.
Yes.
Councilmember Yashewski.
Yes.
And Councilmember Batcher.
Yes.
All in favor, none opposed, the resolution is adopted. There's no unfinished business at this time. We'll move on to new business. And item number 11, Jason Femright is here to discuss with us the various street projects.
I did invite our city engineer, Jason Femright, to come and discuss 3 items, 3 business items. A couple of them do require formal action. The first item is just a wrap-up of the 2015 street and utility improvement project. Just kind of wanted to hear on what your thoughts were, city engineer Femright, on how that project went and it was a successful project and
Absolutely, yes. We have obviously went through a long process of the 2015 project. All things considered, the project did come in slightly under budget. A very good project for the city of Arlington. I was very happy with the contractor, residents. We got grass to grow fairly quickly other than one ditch. Is the only really outstanding thing that's kind of plagued us. But on a project that size, with a school next to it and everything, it was extremely successful. So we are excited to work on the next project in 2017 here and hope to have similar results.
And then tonight, before our council meeting, we had a special workshop, and as part of that special workshop, the council did discuss the project coming in under budget and how it affects the assessment process, and I don't know if anybody wants to kind of give a wrap-up of that, but it's a continuation of a discussion that resident Kurt Reitz had brought to the council at our last meeting.
Any comments on that at all?
I guess we did discuss quite a few different options, so I'll turn my hearing aids down. If I'm correct, we're gonna have Bolton Mink rerun the numbers to see, rerun the assessment numbers to see where that would fall in line per assessment, if there's any monies that would be available for refund, and if there is, if the council would decide to refund that money or put it forward into the next project.
Well, not put it forward, to put it in, back into that.
Back into the,
Right, to pay down the bond.
right.
Yep, yep.
Do we need a motion or anything to just,
Not unless the council is ready to make a decision on that tonight. But I think we need to get a few more facts on that, and then
right, I mean,
at a future meeting, we'll be able to.
are we gonna have Jason run the numbers now and then bring those back to us so we can make a decision?
Right.
Is that what I
That's,
understand?
That's
Okay.
my
seems to be the
understanding, yes,
consensus,
yes.
yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
Wonderful.
B,
All right, we also have the 2017 street and utility improvement project before us tonight. We also briefly talked about that during our workshop session, just talking about Alden Street and whether we want to keep it as a 9-ton versus a 7-ton road now that Semstone has moved out of the area. And then there is an action item under this as well.
Yeah, so the 2017 project, we are essentially completed with the plans and specifications. I have a copy here tonight. We're hoping to upload those for bidding by the end of the week. That we did have some discussion regarding Alden Street, whether or not to keep it a 7-ton or a 9-ton. I guess I'm looking for some direction from the council if we want to change it. Right now, we have it as a 9-ton. It is a designated truck route. We've heard a number of discussions through the work session on whether we should continue to keep a 9-ton or a 7-ton, and I can certainly change the plans now, and certainly we could do it all the way up until we put pavement down on the road. So looking for some direction on that.
All right, it's open for discussion. If the council feels they would want to make a decision on that 7-ton versus 9-ton street, that can be taken care of tonight. Any discussion?
I like the idea Councilman Highland had earlier about leaving it at 9-ton, because it does get a lot of traffic from Main Street, from the grocery store, from school buses. So there still will be big vehicles using that route, and they'll be using it more than just a regular street and a city street. So I am in favor of staying with the 9-ton.
Okay, currently it's proposed as a 9-ton. I guess we do not need to take any action unless we want to change it to a 7-ton.
That's right. And
So-
you could provide me direction at any time up until us
Okay.
building the road.
Right, well, right now, it is a truck route.
It is.
So that's, to make it a true truck route, it has to be a 9-ton road,
That's right,
correct?
yes.
So if we were to change our mind and retract that, then we could not designate that as a truck route anymore.
That's right.
Okay.
So also in front of you is a resolution approving the plans and specifications and authorizing advertisement for bid. I did also provide you the proposed project schedule that outlines where we're at and where we're going for you to follow with. And then I also provided you in your packet an updated engineer's estimate. I didn't provide the preliminary one, but I compared the numbers, and we are very, very close to where the preliminaries are, if not slightly underneath that. So our preliminary estimates and preliminary assessment roll is, looks like right in line with where we're proceeding here with the final documents, so.
Okay, we do have a resolution in front of you here that someone would feel they'd want to introduce that.
I'd like to introduce Resolution 17-2017, resolution approving plans and specifications and ordering advertisement for bids.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Councilmember Batcher introduced the resolution, and Councilmember Yashewski seconded it. That is Resolution 17-2017, a resolution approving plans and specifications and ordering advertisement for bids. And this is regarding the 2017 street improvement project. Is there any discussion? If not, we'll vote by roll call vote. Councilmember Hattlestead.
Yes.
Councilmember Batcher.
Yes.
Councilmember Yashewski.
Yes.
Councilmember Cowell.
Yes.
Councilmember Highland.
Yes.
All in favor, none opposed, that resolution is adopted. Okay,
And then the final item under Jason's heading here is the Circle Drive Improvement Project update, and that is somewhat in, well, it's in relation to Semstone moving from the downtown area out to the east side, the industrial park area.
And also that other facility, looking for some sewer and water on that other property. So what you have in front of you tonight is a resolution ordering preparation of an engineering report for a couple of improvements. I've kind of provided a brief sketch of what we're talking about. We're talking about that Semstone property and creating a 10-ton road on that portion of Circle Drive that's highlighted in yellow, along with sewer and water extension to the center portion of the Dressen property. For us to build those and follow an assessment process, we certainly are fully aware of our 429, so we would be following that. I provided two options within the project schedule, giving us a couple of different begin construction dates, and it really comes down to when we hold the assessment hearing on those and whether or not we could have these property owners petition for these improvements. But realistically, to get things moving in the assessment proceedings, I would encourage the council to authorize a preliminary engineering report. Within that report, I would look at a couple of different assessment options, and I wanted to just kind of point that out for your guys' thoughts when we bring this report back. I'm looking for some direction from you on how we want to assess these improvements. In a typical project, we look at adjusted front footage and or per lot policy. We have three options in our toolbox in our Arlington assessment policy, one being adjusted front footage, two being per lot, and the third being on an area basis. So they're very unique properties. None of them are typical rectangles by any means, so the adjusted front footage is going to be a calculation in there, and then we can also, the council can adjust things accordingly, according to how we feel is appropriate on those assessments. So I'm thinking something on a per lot, potentially in an area basis, may make some sense, looking at the adjacent properties. If one has more frontage, do they receive more benefit than another property? I think we'll run a couple of scenarios for you guys to discuss as we're following through with the process. So I ask you to authorize that engineer's report tonight, and we can kind of start moving down that path if it's the council's wish.
I'll make a motion to authorize Bolton Mink to start the engineer's report as proposed in the packet that he gave us tonight.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Councilmember Yashewski introduced the following resolution, that being Resolution 18-2017. Councilmember Hattlestead seconded it, and that resolution is ordering a preparation of report on improvement. Are there any questions? I did have one question in that the street improvement that is outlined or that is indicated in yellow,
Yes.
is that the definite end to it? When I look at the southwest extension, how is it determined how far that would go?
The original discussion was bringing it past their last driveway into the Semstone facility, and that's kind of where that, and we have final plans from Semstone, so we can coordinate with where that is and ending the bituminous just past that driveway.
That would, and then I noticed also it indicated the names of the properties that would be, potentially would have an assessment, that being the Dresden property, Scott Equipment, Semstone. I don't believe it said Hutchinson Co-op was not in there, but it looks like that road does extend onto Hutchinson Co-op property.
Yeah, I've already requested the property owner's identifications for all the adjacent properties, so
Okay.
we'll update these exhibits
Okay.
to reflect all of the current property owners.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions in regard to the resolution that's been introduced? All right, to vote by roll call vote, Councilmember Batchor.
Yep.
Councilmember Highland.
Yes.
Councilmember Yashewski.
Yes.
Councilmember Cowell.
Yes.
Councilmember Hattlestead.
Yes.
All in favor, none opposed, the resolution is adopted.
And then the second resolution before you tonight, Resolution 19-2017, is amending Resolution 42-2016, which was adopted last year. That Resolution 42-2016 was in regard to the city's application for the BDPI grant to fund a portion of those improvements on Circle Drive. And at that time the resolution was adopted, the city's portion that was to be funded was based on an estimate. Now with the numbers coming together, we have more of a firm number, and so a requirement from the state is to update that resolution. So that resolution is before you tonight. Now the city's portion to fund that project would come through potential assessments if that's what how the city decides to move forward with the project. So.
Okay.
I'd like to introduce Resolution 19-2017, amending Resolution 42-2016 to update city funding on the BDPI grant.
Second.
Okay, Councilmember Highland introduced Resolution 19-2017. It was seconded by Councilmember Cowell. And that resolution is amending Resolution 42-2016, approving the business development public infrastructure application. Are there any questions? If not, vote by roll call vote. Councilmember Hattlestead.
Yes.
Councilmember Yashewski.
Yes.
Councilmember Cowell.
Yes.
Councilmember Highland.
Yeah.
Councilmember Batchor.
Yes.
All in favor, none opposed, the resolution is adopted.
Jason, can I ask Jason?
Yes, yes.
Sit down, you aren't done.
I can be here all night.
Put your seatbelt on. Just questioning on the Circle Drive. We have residents that are further down. If they wanted the street blacktopped, I mean, is this something that could be done at that point, or?
I see it, I would, absolutely would be a good time to add that onto this. That's the reason why I kind of brought, if we're gonna do the utility work here and the street work, including this all in one project, this would get an economy of scale by adding the rest of that portion to pave. That certainly wouldn't maybe need to be a 10-ton, or whatever they would want to do. We could definitely add that to this if that's the direction.
What would be the normal process for determining if they wanted, just polling those property owners to see?
I would say, yeah. Yeah, that we're gonna be doing, reaching out to
Just-
those property owners and saying, we're gonna be doing this project, any interest in us continuing the bituminous? It is going from under this current, city policy for assessments, going from gravel to pavement is 100% assessable.
I think there was some concern from them owners about some of these trucks going their route. Is that correct? Is that the route?
That was, and you know, that the trucks would, if it was all blacktop, the trucks would then be enticed to go the whole route and rather than staying on the surfaced route.
Right.
So I guess that's to be determined.
Could be a comment of
Yeah.
whether or not, but if they want us to do that, we could definitely look at it. I would just, probably get their input and see if that's something they'd be interested in. Wouldn't have to be right away. We could amend the engineer's report and, if they, maybe even sign a petition, then we wouldn't even have to follow the process, all the way through. But yeah, reach out to them if this is gonna start to move forward. There may
Can
be.
done by city staff.
Yes.
I think we
So
should
they-
check too.
We should at least ask and give them the option.
Is there any way that if we ask them if they, a per foot cost or anything like that, I mean, can we come up with a number? Just a ballpark number so they know, oh, I didn't know it'd be that much or whatever.
I can, yes.
You know.
I don't have that off the top of my
No,
head here, but I
no,
can,
but it-
I would definitely provide that.
Along with approaching them and informing them of what's going to go on, if we can come up with.
Yeah, I could just come up with a quick exhibit showing the distance of it and then a approximate per foot cost, and they
Yep.
can get some understanding of what that is.
what-
So they'd be assessed on a running foot on their lot adjacent to the road?
Again, that's where it comes down to, do we wanna do a front footage, or do we wanna do a per lot, or do we wanna do on an area basis on on how the benefit
Mhm.
should be calculated? We got 3 different options there. We'll have to see which one fits the best, because you only have, 20 feet of frontage. You get more, or you have less benefit than one that has 100 foot of frontage.
Cause you have a cul-de-sac back in there too that service a
Those
number of
properties
houses.
off of
I know, Is
that,
that blacktopped or is it gravel?
it is.
Blacktop.
It is blacktop,
Mhm.
but yet they would be gaining the use of the road, the
Right.
main road. Okay, good point.
Anything else? Yep.
You can go now.
Have a good night.
Thanks, Jason.
Yeah, thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Jason.
All right, moving on to, item 12, fire committee recommendations.
The fire committee has met on several occasions with representatives from the fire department representing those that have been with the fire department less than 5 years, the 10-year mark, as well as the 20-year mark, just to discuss recruitment and retention. I know Chief Zaski has sat before this council several years in a row now discussing his concerns about what are we going to do to recruit and retain. So it was the task of our fire committee to meet with those representatives to determine what would it take. So research was done, just to find out what other communities were doing, and there wasn't really a whole lot of options, I guess. And so the ideas that are before you tonight, the recommendations, really kind of come out of just some brainstorming and going back to the full department and kind of getting a pulse on what they think would recruit and retain firefighters. So there's 4 recommendations. I guess they are looking, the fire department is in favor of approving all 4 of those, but they're for you tonight. I don't know if our members of our fire committee want to discuss any of these recommendations.
Go ahead.
Well, this is just basically what they gave us. Like Liza said, it was the whole fire department. Jim tasked them to go back and ask them what they wanted, rather than us giving them something. And this is what they came up with. The last one was a little different than what they proposed, because they proposed a utility break, which it's not feasible, can't be done. So this is what they presented for the most part. We agreed on, I guess.
I think we had 2 or 3 different meetings with people from the fire department, and it was kind of interesting. We had a couple of the firefighters that had 15 to 20 years plus, and we had a couple younger guys that were 1 or 2 or 3 years, so we had kind of a mix of input from the different angles of the fire department. So it's kind of fun listening to the newer firefighters, because as Chief Zaski pointed out to him, he says to the younger guys, "You are the future," and I think that scared the heck out of them, because they're new, they're learning. They wanted the older firefighters to stay around to help train the newer people, or even some of the firefighters with 2, 3, 4 years experience are still looking for the old timers to show them how to do things and how to get things done. And because a lot of times the old guys have been around a long time. They know what works and what doesn't work, and hopefully they can keep the younger guys from reinventing the wheel all over again. So I was impressed. We kind of started out with, they were asking, what is the council gonna do for us? And I says, I could come up with a great plan, I could have all kinds of things going for you, but you wouldn't like it. So we sent them back and said, you guys figure out what you want, what's gonna work for you, and then bring it forward to us. And we kind of hammered out these agreements, and I think it's gonna help. Should help retention. It should help recruiting to get some new people in the fire department, and I think help some of the guys with some of the longevity to stay on a little bit longer.
Which we really need.
Yes.
Which we really need.
We do, we
You
do.
know, we can't afford to lose these old timers.
All right.
No, and even with the experience factor, with just the sheer numbers, we can't afford to lose anybody, whether they be one with 20 years experience or 2 years experience. Just to clarify, as you look at the items on your list, the first one with the bonuses after, how was it? Oh, I see, okay, first one as far as the finishing the firefighter and EMR class, the reimbursement, that really wouldn't hit until the 2019 budget, as far as the city budget's concerned. Because by the time they complete a year and then, and then put in a year of active service, that's when that would hit the budget. As far as the second point, the firefighters is being compensated the same hourly pay as ambulance, $12.50, that they are, and you know, they were asked that to be immediate. And the third one, increasing the current relief from 1,300 contribution to 1,600, same as Gaylord. They were asking for that. Actually, that would hit that would hit next year's budget, 2018 budget, and then a $1,650 for 2019, and then the 2020 budget, it would be the contribution or the current relief payment would be $1,700. So most of this does not hit this year's budget. Actually the only one would be that immediate change from $10 to $12.50.
What's the difference between C and D? The one is increase for their Fire Relief Association of $300 a year, and then $350, and then $400 a year would be the difference over the course of 3 years. And then there's also longevity pay. And when does that, is that looking like the ambulance, what we do right now for the ambulance is after so many years they get, like at their 5, 10, 15, 20-year mark, they get a $1,200 check or a $600 check, or what does that look like exactly?
So it is similar to the ambulance longevity pay, although ambulance does not receive a relief or a pension. The longevity pay for the fire, though, would be on an annual basis, so 10 to 15, 10 to 15 years each year, they would receive a $600 longevity pay, be paid out at the same time as their hourly. They get paid at the end of November, beginning of December. And then 15-year and on every year until they retire would be a $1,200.
I was led to, I just assumed they just got paid at that earmark.
No, it's an annual bonus.
It's an annual bonus.
Annual bonus for sticking around.
Right.
Again, the longevity
Does
retention issue.
the ambulance also get it every year after?
No,
They
they
only get it at increments, correct? In a certain dollar amount at increments, so at 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20
I
years.
believe, right.
And I think the reason for it is at 10 years they become partially vested. So that's, a lot of people leave after 10 years because they get some money and run. So that the fire department wanted, amazing, incentive for those people to stay. And if you do it after, 10 years, people are gonna run. If you do it after 15 years, people are gonna leave right after that. They aren't gonna wait 5 years for, more money, I don't think, so that's why it's on an annual basis rather than a.
Makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah, well, yeah, I look at the ambulance though, and I'd like to keep it somewhat in line, or kind of have it as similar as we can. I mean, the fire relief, they get retirement, and our ambulance EMTs do not, but they do get a longevity, every 5 years, and which increases and is a nice bonus. I'm just thinking out loud how, the ambulance will come back because they're in the same kind of trouble,
Right.
and then are they gonna ask for, ambulance relief or something for something that they're not getting. I don't know how that would work, but.
And then we discussed that somewhat briefly in the fire meetings, and, right now, we're in the process of looking at different options on the ambulance service, I think, and, and I think we'd certainly be open to looking at options for them also.
At the convention or conference I went to, I realized here, when I was thinking about it, that I talked to a council member, and why I didn't get his name written down and where he came from, but he said their fire department is volunteer, but in their community, there's a waiting list.
Really?
It's such an honor to be part of the fire department, and I didn't have enough time to develop the conversation to know what their secret or what they do that makes it so appealing.
Well, it could be that the city that you talk to or that you have in mind, it could be they have a few large employers which keep workers around during the day, and they can respond to fires. I think that's the biggest enemy of what we're battling is the fact that they leave in the morning and are not able to respond.
One of the things I brought up too was at the meeting we had about the new medical school coming in. Phil talked about how the students, and I think some of the residents or helpers or whatever at the school were volunteering at a lot of places, the fire department and the ambulance and the Lions Club and Rotary and all different organizations. They were out volunteering, and a lot of them were in the fire department. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe 2, 3, 4 years down the line, when the school is up and running and we have more people in town and the water park is up and running, we're just gonna have more people in town to take care of some of these issues. But right now, we're struggling a little bit.
We don't know that's gonna happen.
Right.
For those people watching on TV, there is no water park being planned right now. I just, don't inundate the city office with what the heck is he talking about, water park.
Yeah.
Come on, I wanna start some rumors, we gotta get it going here. So do we need to approve each A, B, C, D, E?
Each one separately, I guess, would be the best way. That's the way it's laid out, and I think that's a good way to handle them.
I would move to approve the $500 signing bonus for new firefighters.
I'll second
Do we need
that.
to stipulate that takes effect 2 years after?
Well, I think it takes effect with new recruits. So whoever is currently in training would not get the
Right.
bonus, but from now on, whoever joins the fire department and completes
Right.
training and completes 1 year would be
Yeah.
eligible.
And we had discussed that with the fire department too, is there's gonna be some hard feelings on the ones that are in training now, but they don't get any, and the next ones and they said, no, we've talked about that.
Right.
That's,
Okay.
you've gotta draw the line somewhere, and they've drawn it, so. Is there a second to that motion?
I did.
Oh, you did, I'm sorry. Okay, motion by Councilmember Highland, second by Councilmember Batchor to approve item A, that would be a $500 signing bonus for new firefighters. Any more discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the hourly pay increase from $10 an hour, call hour, to $12.50, effective 2017.
I'll second that.
Yeah, and I believe that is immediate, like an immediate type of a raise. Okay, a motion by Councilmember Batchor, second by Councilmember Hattlestead to approve the increase from call hour from $10 to $12.50, and that would be an immediate increase. Any more discussion?
That would just take effect from here forward. It's
From
not
here forward.
retroactive.
It's not retroactive,
that's-
no. Yep.
So just to clarify, that pay, so the fire department members are paid as of the end of November, and then they aren't paid again until this next end of November, beginning of December. So the $12.50 would go all the way back to that last paycheck, or,
No,
No, it would be
effective
right,
today.
effective today,
okay?
to the end of the, to the end
To
of the
the end
year.
of the year, so it'd be $10 an hour up to today,
And then $12.50 starting
$12.50
tomorrow,
tomorrow.
whatever.
Okay.
Mhm. Okay. Any more questions? If not, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Item C, the increase in incremental annual benefit level.
I move to approve the incremental increase annual benefit level to the Fire Relief Association to $1,600 in 2018, $1,650 in 2019, and $1,700 in 2020.
I'll second it.
Motion by Councilmember Highland, second by Councilmember Yashewski to increase the annual benefit level of the Fire Relief Association, $1,600 in 2018, $1,650 in 2019, and $1,700 in 2020. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. And item D.
I'd just like to ask, do we know how much this is gonna cost us each year moving forward, at least through the first 5 years of this? There's quite a few firefighters that are already at the 15-year mark.
And
Yeah.
the
The
thing,
10-year mark. He
Or
had
at the
given
10.
us 17 out of 26 of their firefighters are at 10 years and over.
Okay, so it starts at 10 to 15 and then $600 per that are in that category.
Mm-hmm.
And then the 15 and over, how many are in that category?
I don't have it broken out to that, I'm sorry, he just
Yeah,
it was
said
part of that
17 out
17.
26.
I think he put on his calculator, Chief did, and I didn't know which was which, but he had like $20,000.
Yeah. you're
So that's
talking
gonna cost us $20,000 a year?
Mhm.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was 20, right in the 20, 21,
Right.
somewhere in there.
And then,
I do remember that.
how many members are on the fire department right now that are getting money with that Fire Relief Association? So if we upped it, $300, this $400, I'm just trying to get a number on how much we're spending on the
So
benefits.
just to clarify on the fire relief, so $1,600 per member, so it's kind of complicated, it's taking me a while to figure it out, but each year the city makes a voluntary contribution of I can't remember, it's less than $200 per member. As long as the market is doing well and our auditor looks at those reports every year, they determine that if all of our firefighters were to say, I'm retiring tomorrow, and all those that are vested could walk, we need to have enough money in there to pay them all out. So they ran a quick, preliminary report, if we were to increase our annual benefit level to $1,600, and that's not what we're paying in every year per member, that is what they would get for every year of service if they were to retire. It would not affect our budget this next year. But if the market were to take a dive like it did so many years ago, then the city would have to would be required then to pay that difference. So there were 3 years where the city had to pay 20,000, I had it written in my report to the fire committee. In 2010, the city was required to put in $22,789. 2011, the city was required to input $18,863, and in 2013 again, $79.51. So that was in order to cover, any potential loss. So the city, if it continues to just operate status quo, we would just still put in the voluntary amount that we put in each year, just to try and keep up with the times. So it doesn't necessarily affect our budget unless
The market goes down.
So our really only increase is gonna be the longevity pay.
Well, no,
And
the
signing bonus,
the signing
Signing
bonus
bonus.
and the
And
hourly
the-
wage,
and the
hourly
hourly wage.
wage. as
Those
well.
two, yeah, they're gonna directly affect the budget.
Right, right.
After that, maybe not.
Like, on this last one, can we put it in the budget? I mean, I don't know how you, and see where we are, I mean, cause it's really hard to tell, if we can afford $20,000. I mean, there's no way to know that today,
And it's not just the city, but it's our townships too that are.
right?
Mhm. And so yes, I can run some numbers. The townships, I showed you the presentation a few meetings ago, that their per section rate is developed on a complicated formula, so I can run some scenarios and see what that could look like.
So this would be spread out not only from the city, but from the other townships also?
Correct.
So it'd be part of the fire department budget.
So it wouldn't necessarily cost us $20,000 like what we have right now with our firefighters. We pay 60% of it, so, it maybe cost us $11,000, $12,000. Per year.
It costs
But
money
I mean-
to have services.
Right, well,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, that's for sure, and we still wanna put money towards the equipment and everything like that or whatever
Oh, yeah.
too, and giving them, I think it's a nice start doing the $500 and the making sure that they're making that same call hour, as the ambulance is making, I think is very fair. And that, the annual benefit though, does that mean that they make more money when they retire or not? Or doesn't that affect them individually, or does it?
You talking about item D, that
The
longevity?
item C, the
Item
item
C.
C.
Yep, so
So if
right
we
now,
put,
that it's 1,300.
yeah,
And so if a firefighter was 20-year vested and they were to walk today and say they had 21 years under the belt, it'd be 21 times 1,300. So by increasing it, that same firefighter, if our annual benefit level was 1,700, then it would be 21 years times 1,700. So yeah, it does affect. But it's also, retain, something a tool to retain our long timers who pick that 20-year. But I will run some scenarios to determine how it would affect our townships as well as the city over the next 3 to 5 years.
Would the council feel more comfortable tabling that last one for a decision at a future meeting, or? I would entertain a motion at this time.
D, I would move to approve $600 longevity pay for 10 to 15-year volunteer firefighters and a $1,200 annual longevity for 15 years and more volunteer firefighters effective 2018.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Highland, second by Councilmember Yashewski to approve a $600 annual longevity pay for those firefighters that have served for over or between 10 and 15-year volunteer firefighters, and $1,200 annual longevity for over 15-year long volunteer firefighters, effective 2018. Is there any more discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion's carried. Okay, moving on to item 13, ambulance committee recommendations.
So our ambulance committee has engaged in similar discussions with representatives from the ambulance department, again, to discuss recruitment and retention of our volunteer EMTs and EMRs. And, I mean, discussions bounced around from collaborating with our neighbors to the west, as well as potentially leasing out our ambulance service to a hospital. But ultimately, the ambulance staff did decide that they wanted to keep the ambulance in Arlington, and they really were then going to put a big focus on advertising to gain some volunteers. And through those discussions, the ambulance committee, were enlightened by what's the difference between EMT and an EMR. And the committee had learned that EMRs are, well, essentially what the ambulance needs are drivers for their ambulance. And so to be a driver, you have to be an EMR or an emergency responder. And in order to be certified as an EMR, you have to take 40 hours of coursework. So the committee had kind of decided how exciting could that potentially be to somebody that's always wanted to drive an ambulance, especially one that has lights and sirens on it. And so a focus has been placed on, let's advertise that. The education piece of it, the 40 hours of classroom education, would be reimbursed by the city, just like it already is. It's just that's something that we can advertise. But there are also other benefits too in becoming a member of the ambulance department. Not only being paid for being on call, but also being paid for being on the call, as well as there's, camaraderie and excitement. So that was the first item. There's really no action item on that, but just, we're hoping that by recruiting some EMRs, that will take the pressure off of our EMTs as well as our fire department on those medical calls. Because as of right now, we found out there's 2 EMTs that go on every call. So if there was an EMR, somebody who could drive the ambulance, then we could reduce that to 1 EMT and therefore not burning out our EMTs.
Where would they advertise for that position?
We just thought we'd do it through all our traditional media forms, Facebook, website, newspaper.
The article in the paper was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was very good, I thought. Right on the front page, on the top.
And we talked about the Sibley shopper and him doing it more generically, so not just for our department, but for Gaylord and the other departments out there or whatever too, so.
And then the next item is actually it's an action item. Kevin Sullivan, our ambulance director, stated that the backup rig does need a power load to lift patients into the back of the rig. It's similar to the new rig. He kind of kept repeating it. It sells itself, so I don't know if our residents have had a chance to kind of just peek at the new ambulance, but the power load system in the back does allow, takes the pressure off our EMTs from having to lift and carry and maneuver a patient into the back of the vehicle. And when the new rig is out in use, they have to use the old rig, and that doesn't have that. So an incident just came up 2 weeks ago with a patient that had to be loaded into the back, and the spouse had asked, "Where's that power thing that loads them into the rig?" And they had to explain that was just in the new rig. So they had asked Stryker if they had a demo model that they'd be willing to sell. They did come back with a quote, which was included in your packet, of $24,161.21. The ambulance representatives from the ambulance department as well as the ambulance committee had discussed not only the $3,000 donation that the council accepted tonight to be used towards the purchase of that, but also the payments for the power load could be broken over a 3-year period And although it's not a budgeted item, there was a budgeted item for electronic record-keeping system that the ambulance department is willing to forego in order to make the first of 3-year payment installment. The relief is also very active in acquiring donations, so they want to continue to earn more funds to bring down the cost of that power load, so it doesn't affect the city and our townships as much.
They were pretty confident that they could fundraise the funds for this. It just couldn't happen overnight, right?
Yeah, and they knew of some grants out there that were available that they were pretty confident that they'd be able to be in a good position to get some of that.
Yeah, another thing with this power load is that typically when they have, when they need assistance with very large patients, that's when they typically had called the fire department for help. And with them having this power load on that second truck or the second ambulance, it's going to reduce the need for them to call the fire department and then take the pressure off of them as well, so.
One of the women EMTs said she had recently had a call with a 450-pound patient, which was, and I don't know, did she say she had to face it alone, or did she get some help? But
That's typically when they call the fire department. So I mean, usually like the power cuts or whatever, how they would load the patient, then she'd be able to do it herself, or not herself, but the two of them that go without having to call the fire.
The electronic storage, how much would we be, what would that put towards the power cost?
He had budgeted 5,000 for the record-keeping
Okay.
system.
And we received 3,000, right? And
Yeah,
about 8,000
So
per
that's-
year roughly.
yeah, so that'll take care of the first year.
First year? Heck yeah, let's go
Yeah.
for it.
Okay, is there a motion?
I'd like to authorize the ordering ambulance striker power load 24,161.21.
I'll second it.
Motion by Councilmember Batchor, second by Councilmember Hattlestead to authorize ordering the ambulance striker power load mechanism at $24,161.21. Is there any more discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried.
And I think with the tax increase from the water park, it's gonna be a no-brainer to get it.
Water park better be busy.
well, no, I thought it should be a brewery.
Do what?
A brewery.
A brewery.
Brewery.
That's attached to the water park.
Hey, you just wait, it's coming.
Well, it would be a good deal for town if it did.
Okay, moving on to miscellaneous business, item number 14, Police Department update. Interim Chief Voigt, do you have anything for the
Of course he does.
council?
I just can't get over the comments. Water parks.
Water park.
Did you wanna donate?
You could be the first.
I don't have any new updates. You have the packet of our January calls and broken down by Vicky. Updates is our squad came in. Squad is currently getting worked on. It's pictures of the squad getting worked on, and we already have our push bumper on, and hopefully it's up and running by middle of March or something like that. Other than that, no new updates.
Okay.
It's getting warmer out. People are going to be out and about, so just keep an eye out for little kids running across the streets and stuff. And thefts will be coming up too, so just keep an eye on people.
Skateboards will be coming out of winter storage,
That too, yes. I've been seeing a lot of skateboarders already, so
Really?
Yes.
Have you seen some? Oh.
yep. So if you see something suspicious, give a call.
And thank you for hosting our council tonight. They had a special tour at the
Yeah.
police department. That was an opportunity for our new as well as our returning council members just to see the improvements that have been made over there. And I talked to Vicky about her role with the police department, see the new vacated space out back of the police department, which used to contain power or electric power information or electric power equipment. And so, yeah, it was a good tour. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Any questions for,
I'd just like to bring
Officer
up
Boyd?
something, Interim Chief Boyd stopped by, last week, got a chance to look at the new, Ford Interceptor squad car, and it's really a beauty. It already had 179 miles on it, so it's probably ready for servicing. But we talked a little bit about the Impala that's gonna be retired, and earlier this year, we talked about when it came in, I would take it to the auto auction and felt we could get a little more money for it there than on a trade-in. One of the thoughts we had, and we discussed a little bit, when we get it back, get it cleaned up, ready to go, rather than taking it to the auction, maybe park it out here in the city parking lot with a for sale sign on it. List the items in the window, starting out with them, and have sealed bids, minimum bid of $1,500 on up, and have a date that we're gonna open up the bids, and we can either accept or reject all. Liza mentioned something in the past that they did something like that, and the city staff was going on road tests with the people. That ain't gonna happen. You know, it's gonna be, here it is, we guarantee it to run and drive, and you bid, and when you get the bid, here are the keys, you own it. And we don't want the city staff going on road tests with, I don't like to go on road tests with people in the cars. So, if it's okay with the council, we would start there. If we don't get what we feel is a fair price, we can always take it to the auction and go for more.
Can't hurt to try.
No,
You might get surprised what you get.
sounds like a plan.
all right.
Perfect. Thank you.
And then while you're here, we're talking about Alden Street. What kind of truck traffic or heavy traffic, do you notice anything? I mean, you're right there, I would think you'd be watching that really close.
Personally, the only truck traffic I see is in the morning with the school buses. That's the only thing. Other than that, it's mostly on Second Avenue, coming down right by the hotel and the gas station. That's where all the truck traffic goes. It's not Alden, it's Second.
So like the trucks from Jerry's, they come down there?
Yep, they don't come down Alden. That's where I mostly see the truck traffic.
They turn off the highway and come in on Second.
Yep, they don't go all the way around and
Okay,
come on
yeah.
Alden, they go on Second.
Okay.
So that's where I see
Okay,
most
well,
of it.
that's kind of an
Yeah.
interesting observation, maybe we can rethink that 9-ton, 7-ton thing.
Sure.
Is that a truck route, Second?
Second is not a truck
No,
route,
I don't believe so. It's only Alden and you got Baker, but yeah, most of the time I see the trucks going down Second, just because it's easier access to them. They're off Highway 5, they see it and it's a quicker route, so that's where I see it.
And you got the deliveries to the Arlington house also, you know, the beer trucks and food trucks and whatever, and.
Yep.
So they would come in that route also.
Okay, any more questions, comments for
Thank you.
Yep, you're
interim
welcome.
chief? Thanks, Jordan. Council committee updates. Are there any committee meetings we haven't talked about yet?
Mayor, were you able to go to the library meeting?
Yes, I was.
Okay,
Yes, I
yeah,
was.
I
Yeah.
caught at work, could not
Yeah,
make it.
I delivered the excuse for you, and
Thank you.
the library committee met, the new member, Lorelei Furch, and Councilmember Cowell is the representative from the council to that group. Nothing real, I think the meeting was 20 minutes or something like that at most. So, nothing really to report there. They continue to do fixing up around as far as their electronic equipment and getting that all organized and nicely put on shelves, and new lighting is, of course, that's been there for a number of months already, but they really are liking that. They did get some some furniture out of the TSE building, which they're enjoying. Furniture, and maybe, what, did they get some cubicles also or not? Yeah.
To define
So,
spaces.
Defined spaces. So that's about it from that one. Any other committees?
Tree committee met on the 8th.
Yep.
Gary Johnson from the Department of Forest Service was there, Liza, myself, Michelle, Jim Kraft and Jeff Pinsky talked about cataloging the trees, what trees to plant that do well in this area with the soil, environment, everything else. I don't believe the training seminar, the Boy Scout, or the Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts
Boy Scouts.
are gonna be kind of the main one, but we might have to find a few more people.
Uh-huh.
And they're gonna have that, and I believe it was late April, early May, a date has not been
Okay.
set.
Okay,
We're gonna get together on a Saturday and probably just go through how this is all gonna be done.
okay.
Anybody interested in inventorying trees, we're accepting.
Yes,
Take
very
your
much so.
community to do this.
If you're a tree hugger,
Or you wanna get out and get to know the trees in your
Yep.
neighborhood, or it's,
If I can count the trees in my yard, will that help?
actually, we will be sending out a survey, random survey, actually,
Really?
asking residents to just take a inventory of their trees in their yard, just kinda get a random
yeah,
survey of.
this one's just for boulevard trees.
This is
For the
boulevard.
parks,
Boulevards or park?
that type of thing.
Yep. Okay, any other committee reports?
I just remembered another something from that conference. It might have even been the same gentleman I was talking to, their community was able to get a quiet zone or quiet time with the railroad.
Really?
What they said was the requirement was that there was a curb and gutter separating the lanes so that they couldn't go around the arm and get in, or just get around the arm. See, the curb and gutter would stop that. And they have a quiet zone at those intersections so that, but again, I can't remember what community they're from.
Community it was.
And so I can't get any more details, but that I thought you might want to know about if we do
Okay.
consider that.
All right.
I'm just
It's a little surprising because it sounds like that type of a thing doesn't, doesn't happen very often, the quiet zone.
and he says, oh, yeah, we had no problem with it, we put it in right over. And was the only requirement.
Okay. Anything else?
Well, we heard the fire department update, that was pretty much it. One note on this utilities, there was a burned out street light at St. Mary's Church, and I think we had, at our utilities meeting, we told Tony to go ahead and get a new LED light there. It was like $250 to fix the old one, or $400 for the new one. So we went with the new LED light, and wow, that lights up the neighborhood. It's really,
Really?
they got it going last
So
week.
that's all up.
Yep, and it'll drive by there. I mean, you can see the difference in the street lights.
So which street is that on, or which
Douglas.
intersection?
So Douglas, yeah, Douglas
front.
goes by.
In front
No,
of
in the
it.
front of
The
the.
main entrance of
Okay.
St. Mary's, yep. So that was very nice, and I think I sent Liza a note to thank Tony for getting on that and getting it done, and in the announcement, I was gonna jump in there, but I didn't. The Arlington Chamber of Commerce is putting together a Spring into Arlington event that's gonna be April 27th. It's a Thursday, last Thursday in April. And it's gonna be from 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock. And the purpose is to bring people into Main Street or bring people into Arlington to visit businesses. We have about, I think, last count, 12 or 14 businesses signed up to participate. We're gonna do some advertising on the radio and the enterprise, shopper. Businesses are gonna have specials or snacks or refreshments to get people in, give them tours of their business and just see what they have to offer. So, Looking forward to that. I think the chamber's gonna do a good job putting it together. I talked to Chief Zatsky about perhaps having the fire hall open for tours, similar to what they do on Fire Prevention Week. And he seemed to be excited about doing something like that. Maybe you can incorporate the ambulance and just kind of have an open house in the town on that day. So I want to get the word out there so everybody's aware of it and can participate.
And the date again?
April 27th.
27th, a
Yes,
Thursday.
yeah.
Spring
Five-
into
fi-
Arlington.
Pardon?
Spring into Arlington?
Spring into Arlington.
Okay,
Cool.
good.
And then Leah Prawl, who's the president of the chamber this year, is kind of spearheading it along with, I think there's 4 of us on the committee to put it together, so it's happening.
Good.
Be ready.
All right, any other council committee updates?
Cable Commission,
Yes,
I couldn't make the meeting, but there was one.
okay. I was thinking this week one day, I thought cable commission is something that I would like to be educated about. So maybe at some future meeting, you could, what is a cable commission? What does it do? Where do,
I'll
well,
tell
you
you,
know,
there's been 2 meetings,
yep,
and because of 2 family deaths, I have not been able to make one.
I understand.
And I've been in contact with Don, who's on the committee, a citizen person, and I'm going to ride there with him.
Okay.
I'm hopefully next month nobody passes
Yep.
away.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get one yet.
So maybe you'd want to invite Don to come in and,
Yeah, I can
share
surely
his,
do that,
share what he
yes.
knows about the cable commission. There's,
Yep, he's
I,
pretty knowledgeable, I believe.
good, good. I look forward to that, to hearing more about it. Okay, how about a recap from the Prairie Line Trail Committee meeting?
Just wanted to give a recap of the meeting on February 9th. The Prairie Lane Trail Committee met, and it had a very disappointing representation of cities across the county. Arlington and Winthrop were there. Arlington City Council did ask that our Parks Committee appoint somebody, so we did have a representative there from our Parks Committee, and I attended as well. We also had Tim Dolan, the president of the Prairie Line Trail Committee there, as well as another member of the board. Just, they were ready to hand things over. They were ready to give a history on
Optimists.
how, they started the Prairie Line Trail Committee and all that kind of good stuff. But being that there was nobody there, they ended up taking everything back home with them. Tim Becker, the Sibley County Public Works Director, was there, and he'd commented that the county commissioners will likely not provide support for this project if there is not a strong representation or push from all communities. They need to see that all communities are interested in establishing the trail system again. But Roxy Traxler had offered applying for grants, and obviously the Public Works Department would be a part of that design process, so that too would not be there if there isn't any support. So I guess I just wanted to bring it back because I wasn't really quite sure how much more do we want to keep moving forward with this. I know that we talked about it at the semi-annual Sibley County meeting. We got some head nods. We asked the city administrators to bring it back to their councils. We also invited the entire county when we had the Arlington leg opened and didn't see any support from any other communities except for the city of Winthrop. So I don't know if it's just something we put on hold until.
I think that there has to be something more obvious, an obvious support push for it before we would spend a lot of time and effort on it.
I would really like to see us push forward on it.
Yeah,
Put our shoulder to the wheel and the nose to the ground and somehow push. I don't know was there any representation from Gaylord or any interest at all?
yeah.
I just think it'd be so neat to connect the 2 cities.
Well, the whole thought of the plan was not to connect just the 2 cities, it was to connect the county.
Oh, I know that.
You
but I
know,
mean, you gotta
so-
start.
That's, yeah.
Well, yeah, and I mean, as far as where do we go from here, I guess that wasn't established, I guess we were just fortunate enough to get the first leg of it. I'm disappointed to see the enthusiasm not there either, but, I'm thinking with warmer weather, maybe more people would be more apt to go to a meeting like that instead of, when it's 10 below. I don't know, maybe. My idea anyhow.
Any other comments on that? I wish it would have broader support than it does. But I guess we have to face the facts that at this time, it doesn't have that support, doesn't have that push, doesn't have that.
I just see the use that the trail gets, out to Sportsman's Park, and, one of these days I'm gonna try it myself, but, you know, I
It's
just.
used a lot.
Pardon?
It's used a lot.
I know it, I mean, I
Far
don't
more
get
than
out
I
that
ever
way.
dreamed it would. I have caught it buzz mats a lot, buzz it, man, there are people out there walking all the time.
Yeah, every time I've been down that area to the compost site or whatever, there's always somebody on the trail. I mean,
Yeah.
doesn't matter if it's 8 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock at night, it's busy.
Yeah.
And, I just think if we extended a trail, or maybe the Green Isle, maybe Green Isle would be interested in hooking up, you know, I don't know. But I think there's a way to do it, and, so I don't need another project, but
Sibley County Public Health, they initiated a Healthy Living Initiative survey back in 2015, and not only Sibley County, but Meeker and McLeod. And I included that report in your packet, but it did show that, I mean, on the second page, it's just an easy to read, pictograph, but it says 4 out of 10 Sibley residents report their community does not have walking trails, and close to half report their community does not have bicycle paths, shared youth paths, or bike lanes. And this is in contrast to McLeod County, where 10% report not having these facilities in their community. So it was interesting because Winthrop looked at this and said, you can see that our residents want it, but.
well, we need to get some residents to step forward and jump on the bandwagon, and if we had just a few that were beating the drum, I think it would help a lot to get.
But that's what we're up against. Volunteer fire department, the ambulance department, it's all, we need people that are willing to get actively involved.
Maybe if that college becomes an item, that will have an effect on it. You'll have an influx of people into these communities that are of that age group, that are active, and, walkers, bikers,
Yep.
pushing strollers, that type of thing. Maybe it'll get some life at that time.
I would like to see us have a start on that before the college, because then we get the people from Gaylord that are walking to Arlington. To the water park.
To the water park. I knew that. Oh, yeah. Okay. Is there any other items of business under open discussion?
Is the dump open again now? Or not the dump, but the landfill?
I don't,
I don't
Someone
know.
told me it was.
really? Ooh, you think
There's
it'd be
been
awfully
traffic.
muddy?
I heard it was open and it was muddy and wanted to get rid of that wood pile.
Yeah.
What do they do with that? Do they burn that?
Well, Tony said somebody's coming to grind it up.
Or
They
they're
are,
coming to
once
grind
it gets to a certain level.
Someone told me it was open.
Okay.
Oh,
I don't know if somebody cut the cable, it was a cable, or was it a gate?
there's a cable across.
I'm trying to think of who it was. I mean, it wasn't,
Oh,
There's been traffic going out that way for the last.
it's gotta be terribly
probably
muddy.
week.
well, I think it'd be terrible.
Oh,
But
Quite
I
a
was
few
told it
people.
was open.
Hmm.
Cause they asked me, when did they open that? And I
Yeah.
said, I didn't think it was yet.
I would be surprised if it's supposed to be open.
I'll
but-
drive out there tomorrow.
Yeah, I guess I haven't been informed that it was open, but I do know that we have had residents call asking if they could access it, so we've had a
Good,
staff
yeah.
member go out there several times to allow temporary access.
Okay,
Make a motion to adjourn.
would you?
Second.
Councilmember Highland made motion to adjourn. Councilmember Batcher seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
I
Opposed, no. Motion's carried. Meeting adjourned at 8:11.